Hi, everybody. We are back on GALvanize's Who Not Do series, where we're talking to extraordinary people about who they are, not just what they do. I'm Rachel Hopmayer here with 12-year NFL quarterback veteran Sage Rosenfels.
Hi. Thanks for having me on.
Because you start in Iowa. How do your roots in Iowa shape who you are right now?
Well, I grew up on 10 acres. I had 4 siblings. I'm the 4th of 5 kids. I had hippie parents. We had wood burning heat. We had 50 chickens we raised and killed every year. We had like a half acre or bigger garden. We really sort of lived off the land in a sense. Like one of my friends said, I didn't realize you were raised in the 1800s. It's sort of, so, we never, material things were never important to us. Of course, I wanted to have things, but we didn't have really the money for it, but it just wasn't important to my parents. And I think that lifestyle really instilled into me, a work ethic, that like to do things, you have to really work hard, and what really hard work is. And I think it helped me connect myself maybe to the earth a little bit, where when you're in the garden and when you're doing those types of things, you know the work it takes to where your food comes from and things like that. Again, I don't think I'm a materialistic person because of that, which probably helped me save a lot of money in my career, where a lot of guys go off and buy super expensive cars. I drove my college car for 4 years, so I don't know. I think working for everything that you get, and there's no shortcuts, I think my youth has had a huge influence on me. It's hard to pass that down to my kids, though. There really is a strange sort of burden. I don't want to use burden's probably not the right word, but my kids are raised like in the upper middle class suburbs of Omaha, or really of any Midwestern city or any city. The suburbs are the suburbs, and people don't mow their own yards out here. They hire somebody, much less have a garden and chickens. So there's just no way to instill the same work ethic into my kids that I had. You have to try to find other ways to do it. And it can be challenging because it's just it's a different lifestyle. Everybody knows everybody, and you have connections to all these people, and you have to treat people right, and you have to be kind to everybody. And it's where you live now. It's, you're sort of disconnected, I think, from a lot of people. Like, I know my neighbors, and I know some people at my kids' school, but I don't know all these people, so it's just a totally different lifestyle than the way I was raised.
You are a father in a completely different scenario, and you feel like you can't always make the connection between how you learn things to how your kids will be learning these life lessons. What is fatherhood like to you?
It's so important. It's the most important thing I do. It's probably why I haven't dove into another career full on, because, I got to play college football, which for most kids is an absolute, at least most, probably a lot of boys and girls, it's an absolute dream to play college football, college sports. I got a scholarship. Amazing experience. And then I played in the NFL for a long time. So I got to live out another dream. You always want to be a professional athlete, but you never think I never really thought it was going to happen. So I sort of got to live out these dreams, and, then you retire. And I said I had like 11, 8, and 2-year-old. And I thought to myself, I'd love to get into coaching, but that's not my dream, at least right now. And I think I've really loved diving in fully as a father, and not having any sort of other distractions, and I can really focus on, I guess, my job, which is trying to raise these 3 kids to be, good people, to be hardworking people, to be kind people, and to, I guess, develop themselves into the best versions of themselves. And, you only have so much influence on your kids, and because there's a whole society out there that influences them, and there's social media, and there's all these things. But just, I try to live my life. You only can tell your kids so much.
Yeah.
they're, and kids just don't like listening to their parents anyway. So if the best way for me to influence my kids, and I've learned this probably from watching my parents, we worked some in the garden and we did some of it, but they did most of it. So I think that influence on me is the best way for me to influence my kids is just to do things, have them see it, and then they'll realize, people can do that. You actually can grow a garden in the backyard, which I have, or you can do things, you can mow your own yard, which I like to do. And you can travel to these places that not everybody else goes to. I'm trying to live my life so my kids can see it, and then they can choose to live it that way 100%, which they won't. They can choose to live that 25% of their lives, which they may. But
how is the pandemic and 2020 and NFL recalibration, all of that, how is that changing your priorities?
I think the pandemic has caused everybody to slow down for a second, even just for the first month or two. But for me, really almost the entire time. And anyway, so as a parent, you're just constantly just sort of like running around and trying to balance, especially as a single parent, like, okay, especially when a youngest one was like 3, 4, 5, like, well, I can't leave her at home. So I'm driving her around at 8:45 at night, picking up my son from basketball at 9. She's got school the next day. Very, just a lot sort of running around. And then this thing hits, and then all that sort of shuts down. And we've been pretty, I guess, honestly conservative about it. And that, some people started playing softball and going back into sports, and we're like, we'll just sort of take the summer off. And it's been great. It's been, I've gone camping with my kids. I bought a boat, so we've gone boating a few times, just things that in 8 years I haven't been able to do, because there's just not, it's hard to get a day where my 3 kids don't have something.
What do you feel like your purpose is as Sage Rosenfels right now? Not 2012, not 99, not anything. Today, what do you feel like your purpose is?
Number one is to try to have 3 kids raised to be confident, to be kind, to work hard, to treat other people well, and then to slowly become independent of me. A lot of parents love having their kids dependent on them. So they do everything for them. So then the kids always rely on you. And I'm probably like a lot of parents, sometimes I do too much for my kids. But the earlier I can get my kids to be actually independent from me, the better off they'll be. And I think that is my current situation and current goals, is to try to raise them to be, hopefully, just really good adults. So there's some aspects of how would I like to be remembered? Sometimes I don't care. Other people's opinion of me is not my business. But I had a therapist say to me one time, on your deathbed, your kids will be, your kids will be talking about you. So that's all I really care about. That's the most important thing to me. So we're talking about maybe me pivoting a little bit from media stuff. I really enjoy the camaraderie of working with these 16-year-old kids or 22-year-old kids, or it's just, I get so much enjoyment out of that. And those relationships I feel like I'm building with those guys. And then, we'll see how their college and pro careers go, but it's really enjoyable to work with them. And I think, I've always been sort of an extrovert people person. And, when you're doing interview radio stuff from your bedroom or whatever, it's like all virtual, you know what I mean? It's not those actual sort of face-to-face conversations or whatever. So it's a little bit not as personal. And so I don't know, I think going forward, I'm going to try to focus a little bit more on that. And because I really do enjoy that aspect of, I guess, teaching, the next generation of quarterbacks, because the NFL game is very advanced.
Yeah. Mentoring these kids through QB Collective, you're sharing your knowledge and giving it back to them. Why do you care about sharing your experience?
If you ask any college player, if they knew what they knew in college and high school, how much better they would have been. Mm-hmm. every one of them would say yes, like, oh man, I wish I would have known this in high school. I'd have been so much better. You watch any pro player after about a month or two of being in like an NFL, the OTAs and the off season, the summer stuff, and you're like, man, I wish I would have known all this stuff back in college. I could have been a much better player. So I think for me, it was just, again, like sort of the enjoyment. You see like the light go off with these kids when you talk about certain things, and it's just so much fun and I think I like to teach. You have all these different coaches over the years, and they teach you different ways, and you sort of, you sort of have like, this is, I don't know, the best way to communicate and try to help kids understand things. Sometimes coaching is like, this is it, this is how you do it, this is the deal, this is that, and it's like, it's so rigid that it's not always taught well. Like, here's you know what I mean? So I feel like if I can help communicate to help them understand the game, not just like, well, the protection is this, this, and this, but actually understand why and how and what happens if they do this, and you can actually do this, and sort of get into those fine details. Because you see so much when you play in the NFL, especially as a quarterback for a long time, that it's always great to take all that experience and pass it along. And again, there are all these young guys who just want to be great high school / college quarterbacks, and I just really enjoy to try to be a part of their journey.
Sage, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been an invaluable conversation for me, and I will always be rooting for you as a person beyond your time as a player.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. And I think what you guys are doing at GALvanize is a great thing. And you're all very, very talented. And I really appreciate the interview today.